Hi guys, welcome back to Auto Decode. We all know that our car has a gearbox and while driving we need to change gears. A Tesla also has a gearbox, but we don't need to change gears while driving a Tesla. Why is this so? Why are there gears? Why do we need to change gears? In today's video, we'll understand why an IC engine car needs gears. Before we directly understand why we need gears, I'll quickly explain what gears are for those who don't know it. In a simple language, gears are wheels or discs with teeth on them. A gear having particular type of teeth can engage or mate with another gear having teeth with similar characteristics. Due to this engaging or mating of gears with one another, motion and power can be transmitted from one gear to the other. Thus, when one of the gear rotates, it makes the meshed gear rotate as well. The gear which is connected to any type of prime mover, that is engine or motor, and receives the power directly from the prime mover is called as the driving gear or the input gear. And the second gear, which is not directly connected to any prime mover, is called as the driven gear or the output gear, as this gear gets driven by the first gear. When we say input gear transmits power to the output gear, this means that it transmits torque and speed, because power is the product of torque and speed. There can be three cases of input and output gear combinations. Case 1, if the input and output gears are of the same size, that is same diameter and same number of teeth, then their speed of rotation will also be the same. The speed of rotation is measured in RPM, which stands for rotations per minute. Now consider that the output gear is bigger than the input gear. In this case, as the diameter and number of teeth of the driven gear increase, it will take more time to complete one rotation and thus its speed will be slower. The torque of the output gear in this case will be greater, as the tangential force applied by the input gear will be multiplied by the bigger radius to give greater torque. Thus, the output gear will have more torque and less speed than the input gear. Let us consider another case wherein the input gear is bigger than the output gear. In this case, as the output gear is smaller, it will complete more rotations than the input gear and hence will be faster than the input gear. Also, the radius of the output gear is smaller. The torque it has will be thus lesser. These three scenarios tell us that with varying sizes of gears, we can obtain different combinations of output torque and output speed. Thus, we can modify the prime mover torque and speed as we want with different gear ratios. Gear ratio is the ratio of number of teeth of the output gear to the number of teeth on the input gear, which is also equal to ratio of output gear diameter to input gear diameter. By diameter, I mean pitch circle diameter, but let us stick to the word diameter for now, as we need to understand the concept before going into the depths of gear terminology. So in case 1, the gear ratio is 1 as the diameters are same. In case 2, the gear ratio is greater than 1. And in case 3, the gear ratio is smaller than 1. So this is what gears do for us. They modify the torque and speed of the prime mover as per the gear ratio. But why do we need to modify the speed and torque of the prime mover? Is that the question in your mind? If yes, then you are on the right track. So let's answer this now. So in order to understand why we need gears, we need to understand two fundamental things first. That is, what can engine give us? That is, what engine can provide us with? What torque values can engine provide us with? And the second thing is, what does the car actually require? That is, in different scenarios, what does the car demand from the engine? What does the car need the engine to do? So first let us start with what engine can give us. So this is a graph showing engine characteristics. X-axis shows the engine RPM and y-axis shows the engine torque. These values that I have plotted here are approximate values, don't take them as hard and fast values. So this graph shows engine torque against engine RPM. From this graph, what we can read is engine can give us usable torque from a certain RPM around 1500 or 2000 RPM. Below that, the torque that engine gives us is very small and it is not useful to move the vehicle. Then the torque slightly goes on increasing. It peaks at a point somewhere around 2500 RPM and then it falls off again down. 5500 RPM is the RPM limit of the engine above which it should not be driven and cannot withstand such high forces for long. So this graph depicts a petrol engine. A diesel engine graph is also pretty much similar but not that peaky. It will be a flatter curve. But for representation purpose and just knowing the concept, we'll consider petrol engine here. Nothing will be different, just some values and the nature of the curve, but the concept is totally same. So this is what engine can give us, the torque curve with peak at about 2500 RPM. Now let us understand what a car requires while driving. So this is a plot of wheel traction force, that is the traction force at the wheel that is used to propel the car against the vehicle speed. So this graph is a hyperbola. It is called as the traction hyperbola. This hyperbola is cut from two ends. These two cuts represent different scenarios. This flat represents the maximum torque which is limited by the friction of the wheels. If the torque exceeds this limit, then the wheels will slip, hence it will not lead to propulsion of the vehicle. So the maximum torque is cut off here, and this cut or this flat portion depicts the restriction of a vehicle due to aerodynamic and say road forces. So above a certain limit, the vehicle won't be able to speed up because of the aerodynamic forces and the road forces. So this limit depicts that. So this hyperbola states that with increasing speed, the torque demand goes on decreasing. As we go on increasing the speed, the torque demand goes on decreasing. At lowest speed, we need maximum torque, and at highest speed, we need minimum torque. So now we know what engine can give us, and we also know what the vehicle requires to get propelled. Now let us superimpose both of these. The engine graph, that is engine torque versus RPM graph, can be converted to these two parameters. Engine torque can be converted to torque at wheel and hence traction force at wheel, and the RPM can be easily converted to vehicle speed. So if we convert these two values into this scale and plot this curve of engine torque on the traction hyperbola, then this is what we get. And from here we can see this red curve is the engine torque curve. So this red curve can cover only small portion of the traction hyperbola. This means that if solely the engine is used, only the engine without any gearbox, without any gears, then the engine will be able to cover only this much area of the complete traction hyperbola that we need to cover. This is because at lower speeds, the torque of engine is not sufficient, and at higher speeds, the engine doesn't go to that high RPMs to run the vehicle. So engine can cover only this area which is not sufficient to drive vehicle in all conditions. But we need to drive the vehicle in all conditions, right? So what we can do? Here comes the role of gears. We know we have seen these three scenarios. So in this scenario, we need to increase the torque and reduce the RPM to cover this area. So here we need more torque and less RPM, more torque and less RPM, and here we need more RPM and lesser torque to cover this area. So to cover these scenarios, it means that we need a torque and RPM converter, and that's exactly what gears play a role as. So let's consider this engine is implemented with 4 gears now. Then this graph will be modified to this one. This shows these 4 are different traction hyperbolas of different gears. In first gear, maximum torque will be covered. In second gear, a bit less torque and more RPM. Third gear, again lesser torque than second gear and more RPM than second gear. And in fourth gear, maximum RPM and least torque. So here we can see when we implement gears, then maximum area of the traction hyperbola gets covered and our car will be able to run in this maximum possible area. More the number of gears, better will be the coverage of the traction hyperbola and better will be the performance. So here lower gears are implemented. Lower gears means these gears, these second case wherein the output torque increases and RPM decreases. So second and first gears are second case. The fourth gear is a higher gear wherein RPM increases and torque decreases, and the third gear can be considered here as 1:1 gear. So this is how splitting into gears can cover more area and make us able to drive the vehicle over larger scenarios. So now you know that we need multiple gears in an IC engine car to cover the high torque and high RPM demands, which an engine cannot do by itself. But in an electric car like Tesla or Hyundai Kona or any other electric car for an instance, there is only single gear ratio. They do not have multiple gears. Why is this so? You will get the answer to this question in the next video, so stay tuned. I hope you like this video. So please don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Till then, see you soon and keep learning and keep teaching.